Welcome back to the AOL, the Anatomy of Life podcast. I'm your host, Lexi, and today we're diving into the topic about friendships, our circle of trust. And this is the circle of trust where we need to be nurturing our friendships. Because after all, they are the chosen family that we lean on, that we laugh with, and we grow beside. Friendships aren't just connections, they're lifelines, emotional anchors, and often reflections of who we are. Understanding friendship is a lot about defining friendship. And at its core, friendship is a bond rooted in trust, mutual respect, and a shared joy. It's about showing up for each other in the big moments as well as the quiet ones. Friendships evolve as we do. From childhood companions to colleagues turned confidants, each stage of life brings new dynamics. But regardless of the form that they take, friendships shape our sense of identity and community. And it reminds us that our shared humanity helps us to find our unique place in the world. I remember a lot of names and surnames of people I went to school with. And no, they weren't necessarily all friends, but somehow I always remembered people's names and surnames. Nowadays, I'm not nearly as attentive. And some may say that the world tainted me, and some may say I was just a child with a really good memory. I always wanted people to feel welcomed when they were with me. So remembering someone's name and surname and possibly who their siblings were and what they liked seemed to make people feel seen. I would say that my first ever friend, and now only friend from childhood, is my sister. I don't have a relationship with anyone that from my early years, but I am still slightly connected to those who I went to school with, but it is a very select few. And like all of you, I've lost friendships, I've gained friendships, but the constant thing about friendship is that if found in the right person, it can often feel like family. And I remember when I was in my first years of primary school, I made friends with this one girl. We were about 7 years old, and not long after bonding and just being the two of us, she was taken out of the school that we were in, and I was then forced to forge new friendships. But I quickly realized that there were things called cliques. I obviously didn't know the name clique when I was 7, but I noticed there were groups of children that constantly hung out, and inevitably they are called cliques. Some which are still very strong cliques today. And those cliques always made me feel left out, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And by now, if you've been following along with each episode, you will know that I didn't grow up around my peers. Yes, I went to school with them, but we didn't live in the same neighborhood. They all lived within walking distance of each other and close to our schools. I, on the other hand, was about 30 to 45 minutes outside of that neighborhood. So I was out of town, so to speak. And the neighborhood I lived in was not great. And in the neighborhood I lived in, yes, there were gangs. It was somewhat suburban. Even though we lived in government housing, we made the best of it. I remember we had this beautiful garden, and my mom really nurtured it. I remember watching her groom the plants, and I helped her plant the flowers, and we had really lush grass. We had 2 little palm trees we were trying to grow, and our house had 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. I remember that we renovated the inside, so we actually had a shower. Our toilet was separate to the bath and the shower. And I remember having a shower for the first time in the house, and I felt rich because anybody that had a shower in their house, we considered, they made it. We made the government housing look lush. And none of my friends to this day have ever been to my house. Oh, wait, there was actually just one girl that has been to my childhood house. And would you believe it? The only reason was because her family lived on the same street a few years before moving to the real suburbs. So they knew where we lived and allowed her to come and visit me. So you can't Google this anymore because Google's changed it. But the neighborhood I grew up in is Ennerdale. I mean, you can Google Ennerdale, but I don't think it states that it's a township anymore. But it was considered a township. And if you know anything about what a township is, it's an informal settlement. And an informal settlement is where people that don't have houses usually go and they set up their house. So they put up makeshift roofs and walls made out of tin or whatever they can find. We in South Africa, we would name them, that's where people with shacks live. But Ennerdale was not like that. We had actual houses, and yes, they weren't super fancy, but it was home. And I didn't really feel safe there, but our particular home kind of looked like the houses that my friends in the real suburbs stayed in. And as I mentioned, we lived on a panhandle. But my sister and I never had friends over from school. Like, never. It was only that one time. And the people that did come over weren't our friends. They were friends with my father. So that part of my development wasn't there. I never experienced a sleepover, not at least until I was 18. And the sleepover was my mom helping me stay out of the house so I could go on a fishing weekend with my boyfriend and friends. So you see, my mom knew that my sister and I were missing out of some key friendship forging experiences. And in hindsight, I guess the household I grew up in tended to use that as a protective mechanism. We were two girls after all, and coming home late, staying out late, or being in strangers' homes most likely made my dad anxious. And all he wanted to do was protect us. But that was at our unfortunate development peril. Now, I'm not sure if that thought is true, the thought I've just had about the reason why we were kept from, experiencing a sleepover or having friends over. I'm not really sure if what I've just said is true. Maybe one day I'll get the answers from my father, but until then, that's the reasoning I'm going to use in order to move my healing forward. So far, it's working. I didn't like telling people where I lived. I was often made fun of, or a weird look shot my way, like I didn't belong. So I steered clear of those types of conversations. That too didn't bode well for forming friendships. And all I wanted was to be in the cliques, to be liked and to be accepted. I was young and impressionable. So remember the girl I just mentioned that was the one and only girl to have visited my childhood home? I spent countless days convincing my parents that I really wanted a birthday party. To my surprise and delight, they agreed. But if my memory serves me, I was only allowed to invite, I think, about 6 or 10 friends. I think I only invited about 5, of which all but one showed up. So yes, I know what it feels like to have almost no one come to your birthday. And as I relive this memory, I realize how much of my view on the world is skewed by the experiences I had in my developmental years. And I don't like the word promise. It's a major trigger for me. I don't like it when people don't stick to their word. If you say you will do something, do it. And if not, I instantly distrust you. And for people to get back into my trust book is almost near impossible. Another memory is that once I tried to help a friend who was feeling neglected at home. So she confided in me, and I was really good friends with her sister too. I'd been to their house. I had become friends with both of them. And it just so happened that the younger sister felt comfortable enough to share what was going on at home. But upon her sister finding out that she had spoken to me, by the way, we were in high school, her sister proceeded to believe that in some weird way, I was trying to get between them. And on trying to explain to her the situation, she then decided to oust me from the group. I remember walking down from the tuck shop one school afternoon during break. A tuck shop in South Africa is basically like a cafeteria. Anyway, on my way down, I saw my group of friends and I went to sit with them. And within a split second, they all got up and walked away from me. Can you imagine being a teenager with not much knowledge or power over how to express yourself or how to process the emotions of having 5 girls get up and walk away from you and basically initiate no contact? I was not completely alone, thank goodness. I had other people who would gladly hang out with me, and that was the great thing about my personality, is that I made friends with everyone, from the outcasts to the cool kids. And needless to say that girl became one of my bullies in school, and to this day, she hasn't owned up to her actions. She went on to spit into another girl's face. She banged on my mother's car window, and she went on to do many other things a troubled young teenager girl does. She wasn't my only bully, though. There was another girl about 2 years older than me in high school who threatened to take my life. I'm not going to go into the drama around that saga, but some of my very own friends played sport with her and was friends with her. And so I always kept a distance from almost everyone who claimed to be my friend, Because how could you be friends with someone who threatened your friend's life? I couldn't understand it. I couldn't process it. And so the people that befriended my bullies, in my eyes, became enemies. And another memory goes a little further back, the years just before I moved on to high school. I was around 11 or 12, and it was school holidays. There was a theme park close to where our school was. It's called Gold Reef City. Most kids would go to the movies or each other's houses or the main event, all go to Gold Reef City for the day. Now, my sister and I did all those things. We went to movies. We didn't go to other people's houses. And we also went to Gold Reef City because during school holidays, my mom would drop us off and we would do our own thing. My sister and I only had each other. We lived so far from everyone. Anyway, one day I remember getting the news. A group of girls that I went to school with were all going to Gold Reef City. So come the day of, and not having heard anything, also having no cell phones back then, I decided to call around to my friends. A few who said, yeah, that's happening today. We're going to Gold Reef City. Not sure of the time, not sure about the details, but yeah, we're going to Gold Reef City. Some, when they heard me on the phone, they put the phone down in my ear, or some would tell the others, don't even answer if it's Alex calling. I later found out why. It was because of where I lived and that I was pretending to be white. I can't really pretend to be anything. Anyway, I don't share these memories for pity or for someone to come and save me. I share these memories so we can see how friendships or lack thereof affect our development and our circle of trust. I've had great friendships, long-lasting, soul-connecting, life-changing connections. I met my best friend in my 20s, and her and I always share the memory of how we met. Two outcasts at a friend's birthday. I remember seeing her walk in, and the event that I was at, I was only there because the girl whose birthday it was dating a guy that was my boyfriend's friend. So I got, like an invite, I think just by the by. But I was super grateful to, getting to know my boyfriend's friends. Anyway, I remember seeing her walk in and something on her face made me light up. She oozed cool. She had so much love around her, so much kindness, and she seemed empathetic. This was just by me looking at her. But when I saw that no one had offered to sit with her, I immediately and without any hesitation, I said, hey, come sit with me. And I opened up a seat next to me. Later that night, I took her home to my boyfriend's place to get ready to go out clubbing. And the rest is history. We don't live in the same country anymore. We may not even talk every day. But she changed my life in ways she's never going to understand. And for her, I'm grateful. She was like another sister to me. She made me feel found when I often felt lost. She restored my faith in friendship. We didn't grow up together. We didn't even go to the same school. But we may well have, because we share the same energy. We share the same outlook. We both want reciprocation in the same way. We want to be surrounded by thoughtful people. She is the kindest, most giving person, and is selfless, always putting others before herself. I am her, and she is me. As Brené Brown says, we are hardwired for connection. Now, this episode is called The Circle of Trust, Nurturing Our Relationships with Friends. And after explaining all my experiences with the various memories that I've shared, and I have tons of memories, I realized that I didn't know how to nurture relationships. I didn't know how to tell when I was down. And I realized that because of the experiences I had, I didn't know how to nurture. I didn't know how to find comfort in relationships. It was only until I met my best friend that I realized that I could open up, but I had to open up to a very specific type of person. She showed me how to nurture relationships. I realized how friendships have to be give and take, and there has to be reciprocation. I've had many people constantly say to me, send me a text, let's hook up, let's go out for drinks, let's do this, let's have a coffee, meet me for this. Why don't you ever text me? And I'm like, the phone goes both ways. And often I don't want to nurture certain relationships just due to their morals, what they stand for. But I don't know how to tell people, I don't want to be your friend because of your morals or your standards. I thought I had to be friends with everyone growing up. And now I realize I don't want to be friends with everyone. And you don't have to be, and there's nothing wrong with that. We cultivate love when we allow our most vulnerable and powerful selves to be deeply seen and known. I've realized that my authenticity is a collection of my choices. And so your authenticity is a collection of your choices. And these are the choices that we make up every day. True friendships thrive when we consistently show up as our real selves. And so I realize when I'm sitting in front of someone and I cannot be my true self, they can't be my friend. And that circle is really small. And vulnerability is the birthplace of love. It's the birthplace of belonging. It's the birthplace of joy. These are Brené Brown's words. It's the birthplace of courage, empathy, creativity. And the best friendships are built on openness and trust. And my best friend and I realized that through the stories we told each other, we literally word vomited when we met each other. It was as if our souls recognized each other, and we just spoke and spoke and spoke. And through our speaking, connecting, and sharing of stories back and forth, we realized that we had very similar backgrounds. Connection is why we're here, and friendship is one of the most meaningful connections we can have. And so figuring out who those true friends are is vital. You don't want to be connecting with friends purely based on gossip. You don't want to be connecting with friends purely based on negativity. You want to be able to celebrate each other's wins. You want to be able to hold each other up during your losses. And when your friend grows, if you can't grow with them, you can celebrate their growth. The bravest among us will always be the most brokenhearted because we have the courage to love. That's a deep friendship. Deep friendships require emotional risk. And that's to say that friendships flourish when we make the effort to truly see and understand each other, explore each other's differences, and you'll find common ground once you do that. So for the Anatomy of Life community, I've come up with 6 points that I'd love you to hear me out, maybe discuss with your friends, or reflect on for yourself so that you can learn how to cultivate true friendship and nurture your current relationships. So I'm going to start off with number 1, which is the foundations of true friendship. I've learned that defining what a genuine friendship looks like, for me, it's about support, mutual respect, and shared values. A true friendship is built on mutual support, respect, and trust. It's not just about the fun times, but it's also about being there for each other in tough times. Noticing when your friend needs space. Friendship should be a source of joy, not stress or obligation. I pull back from anyone that's like, oh, you didn't text me back, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, where are you, where have you been? I pull back because we've got to realize that the friends that we have in our lives have lives. They've got things to do. We need them to grow. We want them to learn. We want them to pursue their dreams. They're not necessarily going to have the same dreams as us, but we do want them to have the same values as us. And the difference between friendships of convenience versus friendships of depth is vast. Some friendships are situational. So you've got co-workers or gym friends, but those may fade when circumstances change. Deep friendships withstand time, they withstand distance, and they withstand life transitions. Those are the friends that I want. True friendships are the ones that grow with you. And the convenience-based ones are very temporary. And deciphering between the two is vital for how you show up in the world and how you show up as a friend. This is a big one for me. The importance of reciprocity, giving and receiving in balance. I have had so many friendships where I've given so much and received nothing in return that right now I'm in a stage of my life, or as it trends, I'm in this era where reciprocity is key. And if I don't receive it from you, I don't even give it a second try because I have no time to waste. A healthy friendship isn't one-sided. Both people should invest in it. It's like anything in life. It's like having a job. You show up to your job, you do the job pays you. You have a husband and wife, you reciprocate to each other, you give each other energy. If one person's always giving and the other is always taking, it creates an imbalance. And I've had many friendship imbalances. You've just got to decide where you draw the line. It's important to check in. Are you showing up for your friends as much as they show up for you? And I've realized that when I've gone radio silent on certain people, it's radio silent on the other side. And that is your answer. That is your message. And you move on. Don't hold any grudges. There's no reason to or expel that negative energy. Just move on. The second point I want to talk about is trust as the cornerstone. How trust is built over time through consistency, reliability, and honesty. And I mentioned that I don't like the word promise. I've heard promise so many times, and if you've used the word promise with me, more often than not, I've probably put my back against the wall, waiting for you to break that word. And unfortunately, it's happened 80% of the time. Small actions build trust. It's really simple. Keep your word, show up, be dependable. And trust isn't just about the big moments. It's formed in everyday interactions. Check in when you said you would. Show up when you said you would. It's just following through. The role of vulnerability in deepening trust is where you share personal struggles, where you share dreams, where you share fears. That's what strengthens the bonds. And just by living so far away from everyone, I never had the opportunity to sit down with my peers as friends and go to the sleepovers and be in their houses day in and day out for an entire weekend. I was only offered like one day. And so forming friendship starts from such a young age. I was lucky enough I had a sister to lean on, and we became best friends. We were inseparable. But for children that live so far away and don't have siblings, we who are going to become parents, or any parents listening, it's important to allow your child to interact with other children, to understand how trust works with people that are not your family members. They need to learn how to share personal struggles with people outside the family unit, to learn to share dreams and fears and to strengthen bonds outside the family unit. Vulnerability fosters deeper emotional connection and authenticity. Unfortunately, our society does not look at vulnerability as a strength. It looks at it as a weakness. And through my years of just understanding myself and coming back home to who I am, I've realized, and through the teachings I've had and the courses I've taken, vulnerability is the only way forward. It's a two-way street. If one person is always open while the other isn't, trust is not fully developed. And I've realized that I no longer push. If it doesn't flow, and if we don't vibe, that's cool. You got to learn how to rebuild trust when it's been broken. Acknowledge the hurt and take responsibility for the mistakes. And I've realized that with friends whom I've hurt, and I was able to acknowledge the hurts I caused and take responsibility for my mistakes, they were able to forgive. Those that didn't held grudges. They went on to create revenge. Those are not your people. Give time for healing. Trust is rebuilt through consistent actions, not words. Sometimes rebuilding isn't possible, and it's okay to walk away. Number 3, choosing your inner circle wisely. Wow, I have become so good at this, or I think I'm good at this. My inner circle is minuscule. When I say minuscule, it is minute. Like, it's literally 3 people. You want to be recognizing the qualities of a safe, uplifting friendship. You want to have supportive, non-judgmental, that one's key, and genuinely happy for your success. They're not trying to one-up you. They're not giving you underhanded comments. You want friends who hold you accountable while still offering grace and understanding. You want your friends to be people who respect your boundaries and your values, that they don't impact your energy, they don't drain you. You have to know the difference between the impact of an energy drainer, we call them energy vampires, versus energy givers in your life. I've noticed it a lot. I still try to hold grace and space, but you have to know that your energy means something too, and it's valuable too. Some friendships leave you feeling completely drained, while others energize you. I've had people say directly to my face, I need to take your energy, Lex. Needless to say, I have definitely distanced myself from those people. I've become mindful of the relationships that are one-sided or toxic, and I surround myself with people who uplift me rather than drain me. You got to understand when to distance yourself from these toxic relationships. And if someone is constantly negative, manipulative, or unsupportive, it's time to step back. Let go of relationships that don't align with your growth. It isn't selfish, it's necessary. Distance doesn't have to be dramatic. Sometimes it's simply about redirecting your energy. Number 4 is all about communication and conflict resolution. I struggle with this, and I'm working on it every day because healthy communication skills, they strengthen bonds. You want to have active listening. Really hear what your friend is saying instead of just waiting to respond. Express feelings honestly but kindly. I've realized that there's certain people that you can express to, and no matter what you say, they're just in fixer mode. You want to be able to express your feelings honestly. You want to avoid assumptions and rather clarify when you're unsure. Go to your friend and ask him, is this right? Did I hear this right? Addressing misunderstandings without damaging the friendship is difficult but doable. Don't let resentment build up. Talk about the issues early. Use I statements instead of blaming. I felt hurt when you said this versus you always do this. You got to remember that the goal is understanding, not winning. And you got to know when to let go of relationships that no longer serve you. Some friendships definitely have an expiration date, and that's okay. If the relationship is more stressful than joyful, it's time to move on. Letting go with gratitude instead of resentment can make the transition smoother. I'm going to the last 2. Number 5 is supporting each other through life seasons. And that's why I call my best friend, because she's seen me through many seasons. Being there for friends is both joy and hardship. I told you about celebrating the wins as if they were your own. Celebrate as if you won. Offer a listening ear without needing to fix things, and sometimes just showing up is enough. Presence is powerful. There were many nights when my best friend and I would sit on the couch either at her house or mine in onesies and slippers, and we'd pig out on our favorite sweets. We'd watch some shows, mostly music shows. We'd dance and sing and just talk about music all day. We didn't have to be anywhere fancy. We didn't have to be around anyone. We just wanted to be with each other. And that's how friendships evolve and grow. Through life changes, through marriage. I got married. I moved away. We're still friends. We've both had the same job. We still held in each other in high regard. Both can be growth in different directions. It doesn't mean that the friendship has to end. You adapt, and there's mutual effort, and that's what keeps the friendship strong. The role of friendships in emotional and mental well-being is about having strong friendships to reduce the stress, to reduce the anxiety, and to build up your health, to steer clear of health risks. Having a support system like that can really boost your resilience and really boost your emotional health. If it wasn't for my best friend, I wouldn't have spoken to a lot of people. She was so open. She allowed me to learn from her. She showed me how to be a friend. A trusted circle can be just as important as therapy or self-care. So as we move into the last point, which is the power of community and shared purpose, we talk about the people around you who influence your mindset and your goals. You want friendships that challenge you to grow and not just stay stuck. You want to be surrounded with driven, kind, and supportive people who elevate your life, not drag you down with how everything in their life is negative all the time. Cultivate friendships that align with your values and your aspirations. And not all friendships have to be alike, but shared values create stronger bonds. And it's okay to outgrow relationships that no longer reflect who you are. Experts like Robin Dunbar, known for the Dunbar number, he suggests that we can maintain about 150 stable relationships, but only a handful of deep, meaningful ones. These close relationships require intentional effort, what some may call friendship maintenance. And finally, the importance of creating space where people feel seen, heard, and safe. You want to have friends that make others feel valued, that make you feel valued. You want to make your friend feel valued. Create a safe space to allow for deeper conversations and deeper connections. Friendships thrive in environments of mutual respect, love, and trust. Now, friendships can act as a reflection of yourself. Our friendships mirror our relationship with ourselves. When we're kind and authentic to ourselves, we attract friends who value those same qualities. Friendships also push us to grow. They broaden our perspectives and they challenge us to be better versions of ourselves. It's never too late to form new connections, whether you're 18 or 80. The opportunity for meaningful friendships is always within reach. As we wrap up, I'd love to hear from you. What's one quality you most value in your friendships? Mine is reciprocity and trust. How do you show up as a friend in times of need? Are your current friendships nourishing and reciprocal? Or how has a friendship positively influenced your growth? Now take a moment today to reach out to a friend, share your gratitude, a kind word, or simply let them know you're thinking of them. Small actions can make a huge impact. Friendships are a source of joy, they're a source of support and self-discovery. They deserve our attention and care. I leave you with this thought. Friendships remind us that we are not alone and that the beauty of life is often found in shared moments. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Anatomy of Life podcast. Don't forget to follow us, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who inspires your circle of trust. Until next time, take care and nurture your connections. And here is to your health.